Hey guys, it's Allie from Ascent Astrology, and I wanted to take the time to do a video post for you guys all about some big significant things that are happening in May. Um, I will touch upon this in my forecast as well, but I wanted to go more in depth as to what's coming up for everyone because it really is significant and it's going to affect the collective. Um, One of the big things that is happening is going to be the moon's nodes are changing sign, and that is happening late, I believe, May 4th. I'm sorry, late May 4th or else early May 5th. If you live in the United States, in my time zone, which is the central time zone, it's going to be happening around 12:50 in the morning or so on the 5th of May. Um, let's talk a little bit about what the moon's nodes are and why this is significant. So, every planet actually has the nodes, but the ones that we pay attention to in astrology the most are the moon's nodes. For the last 18 months, and they change signs every 18 months, the north node has been in the sign of Cancer, and the south node has been in Capricorn. So there's been a ton of activity along those planes. So where you can find where the moon's node is because it's where the moon crosses along the ecliptic from the northern hemisphere to the south hemisphere and vice versa. Because believe it or not, the way that the moon travels, it's not just directly flat. It kind of is on a tilt about 5 degrees, which for all you astro nerds, there you go. And whenever the moon then comes into the node's path, when we have a full moon or a new moon, that's when we have the eclipses. So, like I said, we pay attention to the moon's nodes quite a bit, and they generally have a tendency to just bring a lot of change and a lot of instability. Hence, we always say, if you're into magic and things like that, eclipses are not a good time to do any of those rituals, because eclipses are just about change for sure. But let's talk about what we have seen in the collective as far as the Cancer Capricorn axis. First off, we're all in quarantine, and wouldn't you know, that north node has been hanging out in Cancer, which is the sign of the home and the nurturing and all of that. And the north node is where we gravitate towards. That's kind of how we need to incorporate things into our lives to evolve. Now, on the south node is things that we are trying to reject, things that we are trying to get rid of. It's kind of the vacuum suck of where all of our excess energy just kind of goes to, because it's easy, it's what we know, but it's not going to bring us to our highest self. And what we have found in Capricorn, that's generally where we step out in the world. It's business, it's reputation, it's hard work. It's also, authority and government and all of that. And if you think about that, we're in a big prime place of retreating to home, as well as trying to figure out how are the governments controlling over our home, or how are they, we're not spending a lot of time in the corporate environment, so to speak. The last time that the two nodes, being the north node in Cancer and the south node in Capricorn, was actually right around September 11th of 2001. And as you remember, like, that was a huge change into our government. And we all were feeling really threatened, and it was something about our home country. Right after that happened, which was in October, mid-October, the nodes changed signs. And so we're kind of at that same pivot point here. The nodes always move backwards. So we go from the Cancer Capricorn axis, and now we're going to shift a bit into the Gemini Sagittarius axis. So the North Node is going to move into Gemini, and the South Node is going to move into Sagittarius. I will say that as a overall flavor, I think that this is going to be a little bit easier as for us as a whole, just because these two signs of both Gemini and Sagittarius are ruled by either neutral planets or benefic planets, with Sagittarius being ruled by Jupiter, and you have Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury, considered to be very neutral and fluid and go with the flow. Whereas contrasted, we've had Capricorn, which is ruled by actually a malefic of Saturn, which is all about boundaries and karma and hard lessons and things like that, structure, all the things that we've been fighting against. And Cancer, which is ruled by the moon, and the moon, it has to do with a lot of emotions. So as we move from the nodes being ruled by planets that are a little bit more of an emotional negativity, melancholic effort, we're going to be moving into a more of a benefit of this, of having it be ruled by benefics. Gemini and Sagittarius are traditionally, it's going to bring in our call to action as far as how we receive our information. And there's going to be a lot of shifts in this. There's going to be shifts as far as it's not going to be necessarily now how strong is my conviction, which is a very big Sagittarius point, and I'm going to argue from my feeling and my belief about things. It's going to be more about we're going to be gravitating and moving more towards, is this a fair and unbiased thing? We're going to look at both sides of the coin, which is very Gemini famous. News and information are both extremely important to Gemini and Sagittarius. They are the two signs that rule the axis, which is all about learning. So it's not, I know that we've been talking about this for, oh my gosh, decades, about how our school system, for example, needs to get reformed. We institutionalized our public school system, and we modeled it right around the Industrial Revolution. And so it was kind of this one size fit all. It was like a factory. Everybody goes into a classroom. We apply the same things. We have standardized tests, all of that kind of stuff. Well, wouldn't you know, as we are starting to see the tail end of the coronavirus, schools are not going to be the same, you guys. We are, if I look to what's happening, say, over in the UK and Belgium, and even some of the recommendations that are coming out of California, even as we move into the fall, the school system is going to have to change. There can no longer be 30 sweaty little bodies to one teacher. They're actually calling for reforms to have one teacher per 10 kids. That talk about more of an individualized plan. So I really anticipate we're going to have more of a shortage of teachers, to be honest with you. They're also going to be changed. So, and also think about how the social structures are going to change of our little ones, of how that's going to be affected. They're going to be staggering times. So there are things where one child may go to school on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday one week, and then the following days the next. I mean, like Wednesday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Thursday the next week. One kid might start at 8 o'clock, another kid may start at noon. We might have AM, PM shifts, and then the rest of the time we'll probably go back to the virtual learning, where it's going to be having to be more self-directed. And all of this stuff it's just going to change, and that is a big theme of this axis. of that, yeah, we've got to change the way that we even distribute the information. Um, and think about it, the last time that we had, when they did shift in like that October area of 2001, that was when we had huge changes to our airline industry, and which is governed by Sagittarius and kind of that expansion of the mind. And we were no longer able to go to the gate, for example. We had a whole new industry of the TSA. I mean, I think back, it's kind of scary to think that we didn't even have metal detectors in, our airports back then, but we didn't. So there are going to be some big changes coming. Like I said, this is going to affect us for 18 months. So starting, coming up here on May the 4th, it's going to travel all the way through the fall, the late fall of 2022. And I would say that that's when we're going to see the biggest changes there. It's going to be slow to build, and I will say you're going to want to pay attention to the node changes, especially if you are in a Cancer perfected year, or you have the moon as one is ruling your ascendant or your sun. If you're a Cancer sun, that's going to be a big deal. The other thing is, if you're in a Mercury perfected year and there's an eclipse, or you're in a Jupiter perfected year and there's an eclipse, this is going to affect you more than others. So those are my thoughts about the nodes of the moon, and I will be really curious to see how this is all going to unfold. And I will wrap it up for now, but I will also do another video to kind of break this up on Venus retrograde. So watch for that. Okay, in the meantime, go to my website of www.ascentastrology.com. There you can get more free information. You can sign up for my newsletter. You can find horoscopes for the month, and great blog posts. So at any rate, and you can also book a consultation with me if you want to know more about what access point this is going to be hitting for you personally in your chart. All right. Thanks, guys.